What's good, YouTube? It's Rico here, and I've got a deck profile slash regional report for Pendulum Magician. I took this deck to the Timonium, Maryland regional yesterday and got 37th with it. So top 48 got my invite, which was a nice turnaround from the last regional I went to in November when I went to Philly with Spiral and lost on the bubble. So it was just really nice to just be back into form because that had been like the first time in a while where I had done like really poorly at a regional, or at least how I felt was really poorly. But I felt a lot more comfortable with this than I did with Spiral for sure. But I wasn't expecting to do as well. Like I wouldn't have been surprised if I didn't get my invite, simply because my decision to play Pendulum Magician was a very last minute thing. So like for the past month, I've been practicing with Zephyra. I play at my OTS championship. I played Draco Metal Zephyra and didn't do well because I got destroyed by hand traps. So I switched to like the pure combo ish Zephyra, with like Astrograph and Chronograph Sorcerer, and it was working a lot better. But I was consistently having trouble with True Draco. And the night before the regional, I was playtesting with my friend who'd played True Draco at the regional, and was still consistently losing, even though like Zephyr supposedly has ways to deal with Masterpiece and the floodgates and stuff. I eventually just decided that I did not want to deal with that matchup, and I had the suspicion that because True Draco has been on the rise, the same day it got like most of the top spots at Salt Lake City. I expected to hit a lot of True Draco, and I didn't want to deal with it, so I just decided at the last second to switch to Pendulum Magician. And it paid off, obviously, because I got my invite, but I also, among the 9 rounds, I played 3 True Draco decks, and I only lost to one of them, and he had, like, a God Hand, which I'll explain later. Yeah, it definitely worked out. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so most of this is pretty standard. I have a couple, like, I guess, interesting texts, but they're not, like, unheard of. They're not really staples, but it's not like I'm the person who thought of them. They're known. So obviously 3 Astrograph Sorcerer. This is the best card in the deck, bar none. Like I fully expect this to get banned on the next list. This card is way too good, even at 1. 3 Chronograph Sorcerer and Bricks, Stargazer and Time Gazer. You just have to play. There was one game towards the end of the day where I played Pot of Desires and I drew Stargazer and Time Gazer, and I was like, okay. I think I ended up winning that game though. And then for the other magicians, it's straightforward: 3 Black Fang, 3 Purple Poison. This card is probably single-handedly the reason I think this deck does so much better than Zephyra in so many matchups, just because of how versatile Purple Poison is. Just like beating over things, popping anything. Like my biggest problem with Zephyr is that if I got hit by Anti-Spell or Monarch's Erupt, it was actually a massive pain in the ass to play. And a lot of times I just lost there, but like I got hit by Anti-Spells and Monarch Erupts like multiple times, and a lot of times I would just summon Purple Poison, crash it, pop the Floodgate, and go off. So like this card is amazing, and then it helped me like beat over so many like things that would otherwise be threatening. So I don't know. Purple Poison has to, like, aside from like, I don't even say like Astrograph is a reason this deck is so good, but it's not the reason it's better than any other Pendulum deck, because every other Pendulum deck also plays Astrograph Sorcerer. But like this deck having access to Purple Poison and such easy access to it is like a huge benefit, and it gets a lot more than just the popping because it also gets the boost. So yeah. Purple Poison's crazy. And then Harmonizing Magician. This card was so good. Like, whenever I tested hands, I was like, Harmonizing's okay. It's like, I'm not torn up if I don't see it, but, like, it's pretty good. This card, like, by the end of the day, any game where I didn't see Harmonizing, I was really upset, because this is just, like, lets you do so many blow-up plays. It lets you, like, continue playing even if you don't have, like, a Link monster on the board, because it lets you make extra plays. That's another thing. I severely underestimated this deck's grind game, and that was one of the reasons I wasn't fond of it and I wanted to play Zephyr, because Zephyr has an insane grind game. And I felt like if Pendulum Magician like set up and then his board got broken, it actually would struggle to fight back, and I was extremely wrong. So many of my games would just like grind down, and like we were just like trading like resources. And like, so, but Harmonizing is one of those things where it's just really good to have. And it's just like you can Pendulum Summon by itself, and it's a power play. So yeah. And then I was debating between whether or not I wanted to play the Mythical Beasts, because I think Cerberus and Jackal King are both really good cards. They help you make Electromite pre-Pendulum Summon, which is very, very important. The biggest thing I was afraid of was that if Cerberus got ashed and you couldn't resolve Electromite, you actually just lost, or at least like you couldn't set anything up, because this deck needs to Pendulum Summon 4. Unlike like Zephyr, I think Mythical Beasts are a lot better because you usually Pendulum Summon 6s. So I had a feeling that I was gonna see a lot of Ashes, because Ash is good against everything except Pendulum Magician, and I felt like because Draco was rising, there was gonna be a lot of Draco, so people were gonna prepare for it. So I made a decision to not play the Mythical Beasts. So I played 3 Wisdom Eye and 2 Oath Dragon. I was playing the Mythical Beasts in their place before this. I am so glad I played these, because these were amazing. These are also another set of cards that I severely underestimated, because every time I tested hands, I was just like, oh, Wisdom Eye and Oath Dragon, they're like okay, but they're not amazing. And then this weekend, I won so many games with these. Just like Oath Dragon recycling things just helps you maintain advantage. Wisdom Eye helps you like get monsters for board presence. So like if I opened up kind of weak, I could like Wisdom Eye, set scale, and I could Pendulum Summon the Wisdom Eye and something else, and that's a play. Hard like top decking a Wisdom Eye and just turning it into whatever scale you need is awesome. There were a lot of games where I just won because like I had Oath Dragon another scale. I Oath Dragon put a Harmonizing Magician back in my hand, Pendulum Summoned and went off. These were incredible. I don't know why I ever thought they weren't that good. Like I remember I was talking to one of my friends who had taken a break from the game for a while and came back and was also playing this, and he said that he thought Wisdom Eye and Pendulum Call in the same deck was a bad idea because they conflict with each other. But honestly, like, out of the 9 rounds and probably like upwards of 25 games I played the entire day, because I think I had very few like 2-0s or 0-2s. Out of all of those, Wisdom Eye and Pendulum Call conflicted with each other exactly once, and it was just like a horrendously bad hand anyway. So like, these were incredible. I don't know why I ever thought they weren't that good. So yeah. So and like the biggest thing is just the whole Oath Dragon Wisdom Eye just letting you maintain resources was the big thing that sold me on these, because my problem I had before when I was playing the Mythical Beast was like, oh, well, I burn everything to set up this strong board, and if it gets broken, I have nothing. But Wisdom Eye is like an Oath Dragon. I can put things back in my hand and just go off again the next turn. So yeah. I didn't play Star Pendulum Graph. I thought about it. I guess I ultimately just decided not to. I might revisit that idea and see how it goes, but I feel like usually if there's a situation where I can get Star Pendulum Graph, it might be better to just grab Time Pendulum Graph. So yeah. And then 3 Dark Worms, 2 Gate Zeros, obvious. This card next to Astrograph, this might be the best monster in the deck. So. And then my last monster was just like, my last monster, which is like some last minute tech decision. I was running 41 and I wanted to run 42 cards, so I just put in 1 Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser. So it actually wasn't that bad. If I opened it, it was just like a way to make Electromite. I drew it late game once and just Pendulum Summoned it, and that let me make a play, and I think I won that game. I did side it out almost every single game, though, if not every single game, so I didn't really see it that much, but when I did see it, it was not terrible. I don't think I would play it in the future, though, because there's other things I would like to play that I didn't. That's all the monsters in the main. I did not main any hand traps, and I do not regret that. I did, for a very brief moment the night before, considered maining Ash and 2 Ogres, or just 2 Ashes. I ultimately decided not to, because my problem with hand traps in this format is that every single hand trap has some matchup where it's not good. It's not like in the previous format where, like, you know, there were 12 hand traps running around because they all did something to Spiral. It's not like that. In this format, like every single hand trap, there's some matchup that you're likely to run into where that hand trap just doesn't do anything. So like Ash, obviously against Pendulum Magician, it doesn't really do anything. It's a little better against Zephyra, but I don't think it's that much better. Because like you kind of have to like blind do it because you would hit like the Oracle or the Zephyr Providence. I've seen some people say like they hit Zephranu, but if the opponent is smart, they summon Zephranu with something else that they can chain with Zephranu, like Zefraxi, and then make it so that you can't Ash the Zephranu, which is what I always did when I played Zephyra, so I don't know. But yeah, Ash is not really good against Pendulum Magician. Ghost Ogre is not good against like Trickstar or Invoked. And then I guess Droll is like blanketly like good against just about everything, but I didn't really consider playing Droll. I didn't think about it too much. And then, like, Valor is just not good against True Draco, so I just decided to not play any hand traps and just play more combo pieces. And it really paid off. I didn't really miss hand traps that much. And, like, I would side them when I was going second, or, like, depending on the matchup, I'd side them if I was going first if I had nothing else to side. And, like, it worked, but, like, I think I would have been fine without them. But definitely side them, but I don't think they need to be mained. So, yeah. So for spells, I played 3 Shrine and 1 Foolish. I completely understand the reasoning for only 2 Shrine or 1 Shrine, because this card, like, after you get the first Dark one, this card, or actually beyond the first turn in general, this card's just completely fucking dead. But, like I said, I think next to Astrograph, Dark Worm is the best monster in the deck. Or if it's not, like, second best in the deck, it's third to Astrograph and Purple Poison. And maybe Harmonizing. It's one of the best monsters in the deck, is my point. And I want to see it as soon as possible because it is a straight +1 because you summon it and you grab a low scale, which is huge in a Pendulum deck because you want to have as much card advantage as possible. And so I wanted to see it as early as possible. So I decided to maximize the number of ways to see it. So I have 7 ways to see Dark Worm. And that was really what mattered to me, was being able to see them. Obviously, if we had, like, Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, I would do 1/1, because Odd Eyes could just search the Supreme King Dark Worm and put it in your hand, which is good at any point in the game, but, we don't have Revolution Dragon, so I thought this was the next best alternative. I did almost every game side out 2 of the Shrines, and it worked out fine, so also the Shrines are 2 easy side outs. But I definitely am really glad I played 3 Shrine and Foolish, because the opening Shrine is just such a good play. So, and then 3 Desires. I swear by this card. I swear by 3 of this card. I understand why some people only like to play 2, but I think you want to see it as soon as possible. And if you draw into another Desires, you didn't really lose any advantage because you at least drew another card. Now, if you draw 2 Desires, your luck just sucks. But yeah, I think there was only like maybe 1 or 2 games where Desires screwed me over. But other than that, it was really good. I don't know why some Pendulum players, like, think this card is not good, or, like, they don't like it, but, like, Desires is just... most of the time when I played this, it was insane. So, yeah. There was one game where I needed to draw a monster, and I Desires into 2 Chronographs, and Pendulum summoned them and 2 other things and made Warlord and won the game. So, as an example, Desires is fucking amazing. And then I also played 2 Allure of Darkness because I feel like this deck does appreciate draw power, especially without Skullcrobat to, like, make it easy to search what we need. And since most of the monsters in the deck are dark and sometimes you draw extra pieces you don't need, I felt like it would be nice to play Allure and just have extra draw power, and it did pay off. There were some times where I played Allure where it just, like, I drew into nuts. So, yeah, I did, like, I did regularly side, like, 1 out, and then, like, 1 of the Desires, so I played, like, 2 Desires, 1 Allure. Excuse me. The reason I played 2 Allure was because I felt like it wouldn't be something I would want to see in multiples, so I didn't want to, like, play 3 and potentially clog with it. But honestly, after the regional Allure was so good, I might actually just bump it to 3 and just cut the curtain raiser and just play Allure at 3. It was amazing. And then the last cards in the deck are 2x1 Call, 2 Duelist Alliance, and Time Pendulum Graph. I think Time Pendulum Graph is still obscenely powerful, and, like, it needs to be played because it just helps deal with so many things. I single-handedly won games because I had Time Pendulum Graph. So, and then because of Time Pendulum Graph, you play the 2 Duelist Alliance to search it out. And then I was originally playing 3 Pendulum Call because I think this card is broken, but you definitely don't want to see too much of it, and because you have Duelist Alliance to search it out if you need it, you can. I just felt like it was fine to play 2 of it. So, yeah. And then, like I said, I considered Star Pendulum Graph and then ultimately decided against it, because, like, it really only works with Wisdom Eye. So, like, you have to have something else to make it good, and I feel like a lot of the times if I wanted to search Star Pendulum Graph, I could just, like, search Time Pendulum Graph instead, and it was, like, just as good. Or better, because honestly, Time Pendulum Graph is insane. So, yeah. That's the main deck. It's 42. Yeah. Let's go into the extra deck. This is actually completely straightforward. I don't think there's any strange thing in here. Everything in this extra deck came up at least once, so I'm very happy that I feel like I made the right decisions. 2 Electromites. Obviously, I don't think you need 3. I've seen people like Electromite Turbo 3 Electromites, and that seems super excessive, honestly. I never needed 3. And if I ever wanted to resolve a 3rd one, I just made Starving Venom. Metaltron, obviously. Borreload, I'm so glad I played this. This came up so many times. It's super easy to make, and then you just kill something or take something, and it's so good. Absolute, Burrito the Burrito. Dweller, if I won the die roll and my opponent didn't have an extra deck, I obviously just made this turn 1, and it was pretty useful. 1 Nightmare. I made this against Trickstar and just walled him because he couldn't run over it. And then I also made it against Invoked, and it was doing a decent job, and then it got mind controlled, so that happened. But I don't regret playing this. This was really good. It didn't come up as much as I thought it would, but it definitely did come up a lot. So, Supreme King Dragon Dark Rebellion. So early on, I felt like this card wasn't doing anything. I was like, man, I could have played something else. I could have played like Beals. I could have played Underclock Taker. Just anything else. And then the entire last half of the tournament, I swear I summoned this like 3 or 4 times and just killed people with it. So I do not regret playing this. I remembered why I love this card. My opponent had like a Borreload, and he took my Dark Worm. And like he had nothing, and I had nothing, and I just drew away to Pendulum summon 2 level 4s. I made this. I swung at Borreload, dropped it to 0. He dropped this to 2,000, and it gained the attack, and he just like took 5,000 damage, and like I would have won that game if he didn't just raw draw Aliester off the top. But it is what it is. I won the match. And then Tornado Dragon. This came up a couple times, and it was really good. Actually, I OTK'd somebody with this. I was trying to like get lethal on the board, like over 8,000, and I didn't know how to do it, and then I realized that I just used harmonizing the purple poison I had to make Tornado Dragon. I detached the purple poison to pop my own black thing. I revived the purple poison and I swung for game. So that was cool. And then also just disrupting spell cards. And then Ignister, this came up a lot and was brutal every time. Omega came up a lot more than I thought it would. It was there in case I got Reapered, but even when I didn't get Reapered, I still made it sometimes, and it was just really fucking good. Supreme Dragon Clearwing. This card was savage every time I dropped it. There had to be like 2 or 3 games where I dropped it. One player I played against misplayed and swung at this with a Starving Venom that he stole from me. And then I said, okay, burn you for 2,800 and win the game. So... but yeah, this was great. The last move, like my last turn of the entire tournament, my opponent had 2 sets, and I had a Naruto on board, and I was going to make a Ignister to spin one of them, and then revive Astrograph and push for lethal. And then he preemptively activated Scapegoat, to try and protect himself, so I said, okay, make Supreme King Dragon Clearwing, wipe your board, and swing for game. Yeah. So, yeah, those were all really good. I don't think I needed any more synchros. Like, my one Draco player, I wish I had Beals, but I think that was a really bad situation to be in anyway. And then Starving Venom, this card was probably MVP. Like, so many games I made where this was just, like, so useful. Which is, like, a stark contrast to the last time I played Pendulum Magician, where this card was, like, actually, like, not that good, and I wasn't sure why I was playing it. But like times have changed. This card is so amazing now. And then Vortex Dragon, obviously. Yeah, that's the extra deck. Side deck. So I sided hand traps. I sided 3 Ash, 3 Ogre, and 2 Reapers. Ash is obvious. I don't think I need to explain Ash. Ogre is also pretty obvious. I don't think I need to explain it, although I stopped siding it against Draco just because, like, in the Draco matchup, I'm not afraid of Diagram or, like, the true Draco effects, like the little ones. I'm kind of afraid of Masterpiece, but I'm mostly afraid of the Floodgates and the power cards of, like, the power draws, like Card of Demise, Pot of Desires, and shit like that. So I felt like Ash was a lot better in that matchup, because, like, if they're not, like, their, like, draw cards are really the way they, like, generate advantage the most. And I felt like I was already siding a lot for Draco, because I was siding the Ashes, and then I have, like, evenly matched also, and just, like, I was siding a bunch of shit for Draco, and I felt like it was hurting my consistency, so I just stopped siding Ogre, because it always just felt really weak. It's like, okay, I stopped Diagram, so... But Ogre's still really useful for, like, Pendulum Mirror, obviously, and just, like, some other matchups. And then Reaper, I only played 2 just because of space, and I never sided it in because I only played 1 Pendulum Mirror, and we drew, so there was never a time where I went second, because I won the die roll and lost game 1, and then I obviously went first game 2, and then we went to time, and I won, so we didn't do game 3, but obviously, like, Reaper is just really good in the mirror. It's okay against Zephyr. They can play without Electromite a lot better than Magician can. Magician can also play without Electromite, but Zephyr does a much better job of it, so I don't know if I would side this against Zephyr, but definitely side it for the mirror. And I actually did get Reapered once against a Trickstar player at game 3, and I won anyway, and that was the best feeling in the world. But yeah. And then 2 Twin Twisters. So, I don't know how I feel about this card. Whenever I drew it, it was really good, but I didn't really see it that often, and a lot of the games where I wish I'd seen it, like when I was facing it like True Draco with Floodgates, Purple Poison did the job just fine, so I'm honestly not sure if I need to play any back row hate, because like Purple Poison deals with so many threats. So yeah, like Twin Twister, it wasn't bad, but I don't know if I'd play it moving forward just because there's other things I would like to side. Same thing with Dimensional Barrier. This card was savage when it resolved. It helped me win the 1 game against the Pendulum Mirror, for sure. But I think there are other things that I think are a bit more pressing than Barrier. I did also side this against Invoked, but I never saw it. And again, it was only 2 because of space. And then 3 evenly matched. This card's savage. So I didn't play Called by the Grave because I didn't get it until after the event had started, and I hadn't tested with it, so I didn't want to use it not knowing how to use it. Like, I know what it does, obviously, but I didn't know how to, like, apply it properly. So I just decided to take the risk and not play it. I didn't entirely miss it. I kind of missed it against Invoked because I put, like, 9 hand traps in the main. But I think I was fine without it. I would like to side it moving forward. So I think what I would do is I would cut the Twisters and the Barriers, and I'd put in 3 Called by the Grave and then the 3rd Reaper, probably. But yeah, that was the deck. Quick rundown of the event. In total, I played 3 Dracos, 3 Invoked, 2 Pure, and 1 Mech Knight. I played 1 Trickstar, 1 Pendulum Magician Mirror, and a Dark Magician. So, round 1 was True Draco, and game 1 I opened Vortex, Dweller, Time Pendulum Graph, and he could not play through it. Game 2, I got Floodgated, and then game 3, I'm still salty about, because I opened Vortex and Dweller, and I had Ash in hand, but I didn't have Time Pendulum Graph this time. He opened Amano Awato, Raigeki, Card of Demise, and then he hit me with 2 Cosmic Cyclones, and then dropped Masterpiece and Anti-Spell Fragrance, and somehow I still almost played through it, but I lost that match. And then round 2, I beat Dark Magician. It was free. I beat round 3, I believe that was when I played Trickstar, I think, and I won that. Round 4 was the Pendulum Magician Mirror, I believe. Yeah, and that was a draw. That was a really, really good match, though. Especially that game one was incredible. It was super back and forth. Like, he set up Jackal King, Vortex Dragon, and then I, like, baited both of them and then clear winged them, and then it just went back and forth, and then it ended with him starving venoming my clear wing and killing me like that. So that was a draw. Round 5 was another True Draco, and he just, like, drew really bad and, like, misplayed or something, and I just destroyed him. Round 6 was True Draco again, and it was actually against Tyree Tinsley, and he, game 1, he, like, fucking destroyed me, and I was like, oh man, I'm just gonna lose so bad, because it's, like, Tyree Tinsley, and, like, he's a smart player, and I'm just like, eh. And then, like, game 2, I felt so behind the whole time, and then somehow I just, like, managed to just, like, pull it back and beat him, which was surprising, because he flipped Rivalry of Warlords on me, and I was like, yeah, it's a good card. And then, like, I played through it, and then just, like, killed him. And I think it involved Warlord. And then game 3, he just, like, got really bad desires. He had Rivalry again, but I broke through it with Purple Poison, and then I dropped a Borreload just to, like, stop some, like, and then prayed he didn't draw a trap card, and then he didn't. But he said later, like, after the game, he said that if I had just made Omega, I would have won right there, because he only had one card in hand, and in hindsight, that's correct. So yeah. And then round 7 was against Mech Knight Invoked, and I got fucking bodied by Droll Lockbird. And then round 8 was Pure Invoked, and I won. And then round 9 was Pure Invoked again, and I won. And yeah, so I went X2-1. I got 37th. I got my invite, which means I get to go to Nats again this year. And yeah, it was really fun. I enjoyed the deck. There are some things I would change. I look forward to playing it in the future because it is fun, but I'm also going to try and mess around with some other stuff. But yeah, that was the deck. I'm really happy with how it went. I'm really happy that it worked well because it was a last-minute decision to play Magician instead of Zephyra. The only reason I was comfortable doing it was because pretty much half of the deck between Zephyr and Magician is identical, so it came down to me knowing how to use the Magicians, and because I've played Pendulum Magician before, I knew how to use them, so it definitely worked out. Way better than my previous, like, last-minute decisions, like when I was switched from Zoo Draco to Pure Zoo at Nats and got destroyed, or one regional when I switched from Shadal to Burning Abyss in the last minute and got destroyed, so I'm really glad this one worked out. So, yeah. That's all. Thanks for watching YouTube, and I'll see you next time.